And we have the opportunity to be here with Mr. Mike Olszewski. Mike, you are really a pop culture archivist.
Well, you know, it's funny because we're trying our best. I think once people think about pop culture, they forget that pop culture is valuable to us because it's so disposable. And it becomes even more valuable the less available it becomes to us. For example, comic books.
Right.
Back in the 30s and 40s, they were just, lowbrow entertainment. And then when World War II hit, they had paper drives and things like that right into the 1960s. We were throwing away our comic books, and that's why they became so valuable. But here's the thing to keep in mind. How many times did comic books actually lead to kids starting to read, and they became an important part of our culture? So what we're trying to do is just keep that part of our culture alive, and hey, popular culture guides us as much as any other kind of culture.
And one of the first times I met you at one of the Ghilardi Fests, you were pushing for the signatures for the Superman plates.
Yeah, sure.
You obviously have this great love for Superman.
Sure
Many
do.
of your items are in the Cleveland exhibit of from Cleveland to Krypton. And that's such an amazing exhibit.
Well, the thing about that exhibit was too, here's the thing. People forget that two guys from Cleveland, as teenagers, created one of the 5 literary characters that's known in every country and every continent. And that includes Mickey Mouse, Sherlock Holmes, Tarzan, and Robin Hood, and Superman. Now, I teach at various universities, and I'll say, okay, kids, who created Mickey Mouse? All the hands go up, they know Disney.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say, who created Tarzan? They don't know Edgar
Rice Burroughs, okay.
Right? So that's when they're going like this on their phones. We don't want Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster to be forgotten like that.
Right.
And I think we're doing a pretty good job of it. I think that one of the things about the Siegal Shuster Society is that we've embraced Cleveland as the home of the place where one of the great literary icons was actually created. And as a result, I think we're doing a pretty good job just bringing attention to this area. And something important happened here in the 1930s in the minds of 2 teenagers. It's the cornerstone of popular culture.
That's amazing. 2 teenagers have affected the entire world.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And
from Cleveland.
Yeah, and I don't think that, it's funny because Irv Fine was Jerry Siegel's cousin. And he's one of my mentors, and I miss the guy every day. But he told me a great story. He said, I can describe Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster in 3 words. Timid, more timid. They wanted to create. He said they were terrible businessmen. They just wanted to create. And what they created was bigger than anybody could have ever imagined.
Wow. Now, when did you yourself, obviously a collector of items and a big promoter, when did you first fall in love with Superman?
It's funny you mention that because I was part of the first TV generation. So I'm thinking, wait a minute. Even back then, I'm thinking, wait a minute now. Why would you read Moby Dick and take 2 weeks to read Moby Dick when the movie's on TV and you can look at it in 2 hours? So my grandmother told me, well, wait a minute now. You like Superman, don't you? I said, yes, I do. She said, well, instead of waiting week to week, you can read him every day. I started reading comic books. I started reading everything after that, and I loved it. By the end of the first grade, I was tutoring other students. Where at the beginning of the first grade, I'm thinking, what do you need to read for? So, but I will say this. Siegel and Shuster did not teach me to read, but they gave me a reason to want to read. And that's the reason I love Superman to this day. And I'll tell you the truth, Superman's great, but Siegel and Shuster are the real heroes.
So what all does the Siegal and Shuster Society do?
Yeah, we're a nonprofit group, 501c3. And our first project, in fact, Mike's son Giacomo, who's really been sort of like the guy that sparked everything, even though he is not a member of the Siegal and Shuster Society, he refuses to be because he's media. And he says, if you guys mess up, I'm going to write about it. Luckily, we haven't yet. But he wrote a full-page article in the Plain Dealer, and it said, why is it that we celebrate so many things around the country, but we don't celebrate the place where Superman was actually created? So a group of us, including some businessmen, some academics, media people, all got together and said, let's do something about this. Brad Meltzer, who wrote Book of Lies, and Brad Meltzer's Decoded, things like that, he came to town, saw the house where Jerry Siegel was actually grew up, and he said, it's falling apart, we have to save it. With his help, his great help, I might add, we were able to raise about $150,000 in 10 weeks. And we were able to actually redo the whole house at great expense in Glenville. And then also, we were able to put up a fence around the site of the apartment where the first Superman sketches were done. And the apartment house was torn down, but there's a new house there. And there's a fence there with the first 10 pages of the Superman story there.
So the Shuster location, there was an apartment building. There's a house there now.
Yeah.
There was an apartment building.
Yeah. In fact, he was so poor that they could not afford heat. It was either heat or eat. And he learned how to draw with gloves on.
Wow.
Because they were so poor. So we fixed up the house. We thought, what should we do next just to keep the legacy alive? And Mike says, you ought to put up a sign at the Cleveland Cleveland Hopkins Airport. Well, Irv Fine was in 10 days was able to raise $50,000, and we put up the Superman exhibit at Hopkins Airport.
I need his number.
Hey, well, yeah, he passed away sadly, but a wonderful man. And so we were able to put that up. And then we thought, you know what, to continue their legacy, what would raise funds to help people that would have helped Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster? So, as you, of course, signed the petition, we were able to get commemorative license plates with the Superman logo.
Right.
And you know, one thing from DC, they're very closely attentive to Superman and his legend.
Absolutely.
And they said you can use the symbol, and we're the only state where you can get these because of the historical aspect of it. But they said you can't put Ohio birthplace of Superman. He was born on Krypton.
No.
So I said, well, that makes sense.
Okay.
What should we put in there? And they said, well, you think of something. I said, how about truth, justice, and the American way? And they said, we own that. Go ahead.
Wow.
You don't even have to worry about it. Go ahead.
Wow.
So DC has just been terrific to us. And when we say nonprofit, I mean even the postage comes out of our pockets. So all the money that we raise, and we've done, raised considerable amounts, goes right to charities through the Cleveland Foundation.
Okay.
They've been great.
Well, that's such a fantastic. And how much of your, how many of your items are there in the?
There's quite a bit, and quite honestly, let me make an appeal. The Cleveland Public Library wants to become the archive and research center for Superman from around the world. And we have Mike Curtis, who actually does the Dick Tracy comic strip, is donating his entire collection. It's coming in waves, big waves. There's 17,000 items coming in, and remarkable items. There's a lot of my stuff that I'm actually getting together to donate as well, and we're looking for more donations. We want this to be the place where people come to learn about Superman. I've got several hundred there already, but that's only because that was the stuff I could get together. There's a lot more to come on its way.
And we've been to the archive room. This is stuff that is nowhere near the displays.
No, yeah.
And there are a lot of libraries asking for that exhibit to travel.
And yeah, in fact, they were talking about putting it on a tour, and it's still in the preliminary stages, but it's probably going to go on a tour around the country, and who knows where else. Check
your listings and find out where that's at. It's just, you're going to be, Mike, thank you so much.
Hey, my honor, really. And guys, keep the art of television alive. You're doing it.
Thank you.
All right.
And he'll write about it.